welcome to the One Idjit's Thoughts on Podcast. I'm Paul Mackey, and this is the 27th day of the Dog Days of Podcasting Challenge. I was one of only 3 members of our team at Trivia Night last night, but we still achieved 3rd place after a rare, successful tiebreak. I had issues with that inspection form from yesterday. I took a photo a few minutes after the mechanic handed it to me, and Lyft accepted it within the hour. Uber said it was unclear after the first photo, also after the second photo, then said it wasn't the right document, even though I downloaded it from their help page. Then they said parts looked overwritten and I should submit the original version, but they won't tell me what the problem areas are. I told them that I needed to know what the problem areas were because it is in fact the original, and if I was going to go back to the mechanic and ask for a brand new sheet, I didn't want to have whatever they think is wrong happen a second time. But I did end up going to the mechanic and having them refill the whole form carefully. And then I sent it in, and this time it was accepted. Plus, our dishwasher is either dead or in need of repair, and life is fun. So let's look at something more fun than inspection forms and home appliances. Gravity Falls, Season 2, Episode 17, Dipper and Mabel vs. the Future, originally aired October 12th, 2015, a couple of weeks after the previous episode. We'll start with the brief summary. Mabel wakes Dipper with the news that they turn 13 in a week, which also marks the end of summer and the twins returning home. Mabel immediately begins setting forth a massive party plan. However, Stan says there won't be another party at the shack, so Mabel must look elsewhere to host her massive shindig. Seuss suggests the high school gym. Meanwhile, Ford calls to Dipper as his face is on fire. Ford tells Dipper the dimensional rift containment is cracking, and if it gives way, it would cause what Ford calls Weirdmageddon, a complete breakdown of dimensional walls, as though they'd all been taken down by some kind of cosmic key. Whoops, wrong apocalypse. But, like that. Bill would do anything to make that happen, and so they need to glue the containment back together. Dipper worries about leaving Mabel, but she says it's okay. And she's packed their matching backpacks for them, complete with walkie-talkies. Dipper runs off after Ford to save the world. Meanwhile, Mabel arrives at the high school only to find the gym is full of teenagers. Wendy is there. She says that it's high school registration. Mabel excitedly asks what high school is like for Wendy, and Wendy does not have good things to say. Hard classes, everybody hates each other. It is not the musical that television had promised Mabel. She tries to call Dipper on the walkie, but he can't quite hear and says they can talk later. Seuss suggests she try to cheer herself up by delivering party invites to her friends. Ford tells Dipper they need a stronger adhesive than anything on Earth to seal the rift. They need something extraterrestrial. The entire valley Gravity Falls is in was formed millions of years ago by an alien crash landing. He's got some of the same chicken or egg questions like I was bringing up a while back. Is the area strange because of the crash, or was the crash attracted to the area because it was strange? Ford doesn't know. But he does know that the craft is still under their feet. He used to scavenge it for parts. He moves a rock and uses a magnet gun to open a hatch. Don't worry, the aliens have all been dead for millions of years, he says. Probably. Ford tosses a magnet gun to Dipper, then uses his own to slide down into the craft. Dipper attempts to follow suit, but it doesn't go as smoothly. Mabel is visiting Grenda and Candy, and it seems both will be out of town for the party. Ford talks to Dipper about his general disdain for school and proposes that Dipper remain in Gravity Falls as his apprentice. Ford has 12 PhDs and could teach Dipper better than any school. Dipper worries about leaving Mabel alone, and it sounds like Ford is reliving some of his own issues with Stanley back in the day because he uses terms like suffocating to describe a relationship Dipper doesn't actually have a problem with. Dipper accidentally triggers the magnet gun and loosens a tile that it turns out is coated with the adhesive they're looking for. Just then, they're interrupted by security droids. Ford says they are activated by adrenaline, so the key is not to panic and just to clear your mind. 2 things that Dipper is pretty much no good at. The droid attacks based on Dipper's reaction, but Ford gets hit and taken. But first he gets the rift to Dipper and tells him to do it alone. Dipper instead pursues the droid that has trapped Ford. It looks like it's about to launch Ford away into space. Dipper duct tapes the magnet gun to his hand, then attaches to the alien craft just before it launches. As it crashes into things, Ford is knocked unconscious. Dipper employs pulses of the magnet gun to crash the pod. As another droid approaches, Dipper defends Ford in a standoff, and since the droid detects no fear, it stands down and deactivates. Mabel and Stan talk about getting older and the changes coming with the end of summer, leaving Gravity Falls. Stan says at least she'll always have Dipper. Just then, the walkie faintly crackles. Mabel can hear Ford and Dipper even though they didn't intentionally key the send button. She hears Dipper decide to stay with Ford at the end of the summer. When Dipper arrives home, he finds a distraught Mabel who doesn't want it to change. She wishes summer could last forever, and when Dipper says things change and summer ends, she snatches up her backpack and runs into the woods. She sits by a tree and decides to eat some chocolate, but it turns out she accidentally grabbed Dipper's identical backpack. She again wishes aloud that summer could last forever. Blandon appears, saying he could help that happen with a time bubble if she can give him a gizmo. He shows a picture of the rift containment. Ford and Dipper get ready to fix the rift, but find only Mabel's birthday flyers. Mabel finds the rift in Dipper's bag and hands it over to Blandon, and if the audience hadn't already worked it out, Blandon is possessed by Bill, who intentionally drops, then steps on the containment device, freeing the rift and using it to rend the fabric of reality which Dipper and Ford witness, with Ford saying, "It is the end of the world." And my favorite line,
"I used to raid this thing for parts for years. Where do you think I got the materials to build my portal?"
Words not working from mouth.
I feel like that a lot, and most of the time for no specific reason. Who is? I believe this segment may be exhausted for this episode. I'll keep my eyes open as we progress through the rest of the episodes and mention someone if they're noteworthy, but there isn't a whole lot of show left. What worked? I think that the animation and art style both took a big step up this episode. Despite this only being the gateway to the final sequence of episodes, I figure the budget was increased along with the rest of the finale episodes. I appreciated the way that it detailed out a lot of the dramatic conflict about going from 12 to 13, showing many potential changes in store for Mabel, who is really the character heart of the Mystery Shack, the Pines family, and really the whole show. It was great that in the end, it wasn't some big heist or action theft that got the rift to Bill, but simply playing on a young girl's emotions, a trick that feels akin to ancient legend or fable. Things to ponder. Well, I wonder where Bill will start. Mabel is right there, and Bill does have a beef with both Ford and Dipper, if not the entire Pines lineage. Or will Bill go straight for Ford and Dipper? Or some other target that we haven't even been informed of? Meanwhile, I'll take this time to talk about the end of the show as we're about to get into a grand 3 to 4 episode closing arc. I've seen the basics of how this show comes to its end, not to spoilerish specifics in show, but I've seen Alex Hirsch's statements on coming to an end on the production side of things. The show was not canceled or cut short by Disney. It ended via story reasons. Hirsch's goal was to tell a contained story over the course of one summer, with 12-year-olds becoming teenagers. So that's what we got, apparently. I've seen article headlines speculating recently about a Season 3, but I haven't clicked on them, primarily because I'm pretty much spoiler-free as to how things end in the story. I also suspect lots of speculation with no concrete answers in these articles. Perhaps after I watch the last episode, I'll look and see if there's anything credible about a Season 3. Next time is Gravity Falls, Season 2, Episode 18, Weirdmageddon Part 1. Okay, it's actually a fully unpronounceable encrypted word listed on there, but I noticed the episode after that is listed as Weirdmageddon 2 and some extra text, so I'm going to go with the more pronounceable option for Part 1. Happy hunting! You've been listening to the One Idjit's Thoughts On podcast, produced by Paul Mackey in association with Nimlas Studios. Any short clips of audio from shows is included under fair use for commentary purposes, and copyright for that content remains with its original copyright holders. The theme song is Too Good by Jack Mangan and is used by his generous permission. One Idjit's Thoughts is produced under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. You can find more episodes of this podcast and many other fine podcasts at nimlas.org. You can contact me by emailing idjitcastpodcast@gmail.com or commenting on episodes at nimlas.org. I mean, just how many TV episodes about a single summer can you really make? 129? Okay, apparently the answer is 129.